Not too long ago, lived a young lady called Peace. She was the kind of woman who made men lose their home training whenever they see her. It wasn't just her beauty, though she had plenty of that, but it was the way she carried herself with confidence and with laughter that could fill an entire room. Ifeanyi had been no different from the other men who fell under her spell. But unlike the others, he was determined to win her heart. They met on a rainy Thursday afternoon at the University of Lagos, where Peace was studying economics and statistics, and Ifeanyi was a final year accounting student. She was running late for a lecture, her books clutched to her chest, when she slipped on the wet pavement outside the library. Before she could hit the ground, strong hands caught her. "Careful," the voice had said, deep and smooth. When she looked up, she saw him, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a dimpled smile and eyes that held mischief. He had laughed when he saw the irritation on her face. "You should watch where you are going," he teased, handing her a book that had fallen from her grip. "And you, learn how to mind your business," she shot back, flipping her braids over her shoulder. That was all it took. Ifeanyi became hooked. From that day on, he made it his mission to charm her. He waited outside her lecture hall, walked her to her hostel, and bought her snacks from the cafeteria, even when she insisted she wasn't hungry. He had a way with words, a smoothness that made people believe him, even when he was clearly bluffing. "Achalugo, I will marry you one day," he declared after just 2 months of knowing her. Peace rolled her eyes. "You and witch harming." He laughed, but there was something serious in his eyes. "You will see," he replied, and she sure did. By the time she graduated, he had secured a job at a top firm, and when he proposed with a modest but beautiful ring, she said yes, believing she was stepping into a future filled with love. The first few years were good. Ifeanyi was affectionate, attentive, and determined to give her the life she deserved. They had 2 beautiful children, Chisom and Kamsi, and for a while, Peace thought she had truly found her happily ever after. But things changed, slowly, then all at once. It started with small things, a sharp tone when she disagreed with him, a dismissive wave of the hand when she voiced her opinions. "You talk too much, Peace," he would say, his once playful voice now carrying an edge. Then came the control, the subtle ways he made her shrink. "You don't need a job. A good woman stays home and takes care of her family." She wanted to argue. She had always dreamt of being a productive economist, standing on her own feet. But the way he said it, the way he made it seem like a favor, made her swallow her words. Then came the nights when he drank too much, when his laughter turned into insults. "You are useless, Peace. You don't do anything but sit at home." She would clench her fist, biting back the resort on her lips. She had given up her dreams for this man, for her family, but in his eyes, she was nothing. The first time he hit her, she told herself it was a mistake. The second time, she told herself it was her fault. And then the third time, she stopped making excuses. Now, as she sat on the cold tile floor of the living room, her cheeks stinking with yet another slap, she realized something terrifying. The man she had once loved, the man who had caught her when she slipped on the pavement years ago, was gone. And in his place was a monster. She could hear Chisom and Kamsi breathing heavily in the corner, their small hands gripping each other in fear. She wanted to tell them that it was okay, that it would pass, but the words felt like lies. "You think you can talk back to me in my own house?" Ifeanyi had said one day, his voice sharp, slowed from alcohol, but still dangerous. Peace didn't respond. She had learnt not to. "Answer me," he growled, knocking over the plate of food she had set on the table. The soup spilled onto the floor, missing the broken glass from an earlier argument. Chisom whimpered. "Daddy, please," the little girl said, stepping forward. Her small voice wavered. Please don't hit mommy again. For a moment, Ifeanyi was still. His heart pounded. Could this be the night he will finally listen? But then he laughed, a slow humorless chuckle. See this small girl. You want to teach me how to handle my wife? He turned to Peace, his eyes darkening. So this is what you have been doing, raising them to challenge me. Before she could protest, his hand was raised again. But this time, before it could land, a small fierce voice cut through the tension. Leave my mommy alone. It was Kamsi, tiny 6-year-old Kamsi holding a spoon like a sword. His little face twisted in anger, and then he swung. The spoon hit Ifeanyi's leg. Not hard, not enough to hurt, but enough to make him pause. Ifeanyi slowly turned to his son, his face clenched, and Peace knew that that night the monster wouldn't stop at her. He was coming for her children. For the first time in years, she felt something stronger than fear. She felt rage. She had endured his fist, his insults, his suffocating control. She had swallowed her pain, tucked it into the corner of her soul, where it festered in silence. But this? Her children? Not tonight, not ever again. Before Ifeanyi could react, she sprang forward, scooping Kamsi into her arms and pulling Chisom close. Her body moved before her mind caught up. Years of conditioning told her to cover, to shrink, and to plead. But something else had awakened in her, a mother's fury. Ifeanyi's chest rose and fell with rapid rage breaths. His eyes, bloodshot from alcohol, locked onto her. Peace, he called, his voice dangerously low. Put that boy down. Her arms tightened around her son. No, I won't do that. He blinked as if the words confused him, as if she had spoken a language he didn't understand. What did you just say? I said no, Ifeanyi, she repeated, her voice steady this time. Chisom's small hand clutched at her dress, trembling. Kamsi buried his face in her shoulder, his tiny body shaking. Ifeanyi took a step forward. Peace's heart pounded. She had no plan, no escape routes. Her mind raced. The door was too far. Her phone was useless at that moment because Ifeanyi always took it when he was in one of his moods. She had nowhere to go and no one to call, but she wasn't going to let him hurt her children. The silence between them stretched, thick and suffocating. The only sound was the ticking of the wall clock, counting down to something she couldn't predict. Then, in a move so sudden, it sent her heart into overdrive. Ifeanyi lunged and she spun on instinct, shading the children as she darted behind the dining table. The chair toppled over, crashing onto the floor. Ifeanyi let out a frustrated growl, kicking it aside. You think you can run from me and stand against me? The words made her stomach turn. She had heard those words several times in the past. It is almost like an house item. But tonight, they didn't weaken her. They enraged her. She looked at her children. Chisom's eyes were filled with a fear no child should ever know. Kamsi clung to her like she was his only lifeline. She had to do something. Then she saw it, the hot kettle still on the stove and still steaming. Her breath itched. Can I do this? A part of her hesitated. This was the man she had once loved, the man she had built a home with, and the father of her children. But then she looked at Kamsi's trembling hands and at the fear in Chisom's eyes. Before Ifeanyi could reach her, she lunged for the kettle. The handle burnt her palm, but she didn't let go. With every ooze of strength left in her body, she turned and flung the boiling water straight at him. Yay! The scream that tore from his throat was inhuman. He staggered backward, clutching his arm where the scalding water had landed, his face contorted in shock and in pain. You? He gasped, looking at her as if seeing her for the first time. Peace didn't wait. She grabbed her children's hand and bolted for the door. Run! She shouted. Her heart pounded as her bare feet slapped against the cold tiles. Behind her, Ifeanyi was cursing, stumbling. The boiling water had slowed him down, but not for long. She yanked the door open and pushed the children outside. The night air hit her like a slap, but she didn't stop. Go to Auntie Anaya's house, she ordered. Chisom hesitated, but she shoved her forward. Go now. The girl grabbed Kamsi's hand and took off down the street, their small figures disappearing into the darkness. Peace turned back just as Ifeanyi staggered into the doorway. His face was a mask of fury, his body shaking with rage and pain. You dare pour hot water on me? He asked. She met his eyes, and for the first time she wasn't afraid. I dared it, she replied. His fist clenched. He was going to hit her again. She knew it, but she was done being his punching bag. She took a step back. Try it, she dared. Ifeanyi froze because this time there was no fear in her eyes, just something he never expected, deviance. And for the very first time in years, maybe ever, he hesitated. Peace breathing was raged, her entire body trembling, but she held her ground. Ifeanyi may have broken her before, but tonight she had taken something back, and that thing is herself. Sirens wailed in the distance. The neighbors had finally called the police. Pete took one last look at Ifeanyi. He knew what was coming. She saw it in his eyes. The realization, the panic, and the end of his reign. She stood there barefoot in the doorway, her heartbeat pounding in her ears as the distant wail of sirens grew louder. Ifeanyi's expression flickered between rage and something she had never seen before. Fear. The same emotion he had forced her to live with for years now sat heavy in his eyes. He knew this was different. This wasn't Peace crying in the bedroom, wiping her tears before stepping out to smile for the neighbors. This wasn't Peace making excuses. Oh, he just had a bad day. I tripped and fell. It was my fault. No, this was Peace with fire in her veins and a look in her eyes that told him she was done. For the first time in their marriage, Ifeanyi was the one cornered. He licked his lips, his bone arms trembling at his side, his swollen ego battling the reality unfolding before him. Then he did something Peace never expected. He laughed, a slow, bitter chuckle. You think this is over? He asked, shaking his head. You think the police will save you? Peace's grip on the doorframe tightened. He took a step forward and instinctively she backed away. The laughter in his throat turned into something darker. Do you know how many men beat their wives in this country? He asked, his voice dripping with arrogance. Do you know how many women endure it and stay? You are not special, Peace. You are just like the rest. His words hit her like a slap. He wasn't wrong after all. She has seen them, other women covering bruises with makeup, avoiding eye contact in church, smiling through pain because they had nowhere else to go. She had been there, but not anymore. A sharp knock on the gates made Ifeanyi freeze. The sirens had stopped. The police were here. Bum, bum, bum. The way the officers knocked, you would think they were coming to arrest an armed robber. Open these gates now, a voice barked. Ifeanyi's face darkened. You called them? He accused. Peace swallowed. I didn't. You liar, he barked, his good hand boiling into a fist. Do you think this changes anything? Do you think I won't be back? The knocks grew louder, the voices more urgent. Mr. Ifeanyi, we know you are inside. Open these gates before we break it down. Peace saw it in him. That moment of hesitation and the crack in his confidence. And so, for the first time in years, she did something that made his jaw tighten with rage. She smiled, not out of happiness. She was still shaking, still standing in the ruins of the life she had built, but because she saw it, his fears. This was different, yet it was very real. She was not the one afraid anymore. She took a deep breath and did something she never thought she would have the courage to do. She turned and walked to the gate. She could hear him behind her muttering curses, his feet shoving as if debating whether to grab her and drag her back before she did the unthinkable. But he didn't. Maybe because he knew deep down that this was bigger than him now. Peace reached for the latch with trembling hands and swung the gate open. Suddenly there was chaos. Two uniformed officers stormed in, their faces hard, their batons ready. Behind them, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered, whispering in hushed tones. Peace heard there. Finally, this man, eh? I knew he's a devil. I told my wife, I said one day she will be pushed beyond limits and she will react. Ha! She poured him hot water. Chineke no. Peace wanted to scream. Where were all these people before when she walked around with dark sunglasses? When she leaned for days? When she smiled at the market women with swollen lips? Where was their concern then? But then she didn't have the energy to be angry. The officers pushed past her, heading straight for Ifeanyi. One of them, a stout, no-nonsense looking woman, narrowed her eyes at him. You are under arrest, she said, her voice sharp, for domestic violence, assault, and child endangerment. You will follow us to the station. Ifeanyi scoffed. You can't arrest me. The woman officer folded her arms. Try me and see. The younger officer, a man barely in his 20s, looked between them awkwardly. Sir, please let's not make this thing difficult. Just cooperate. Peace almost felt sorry for the boy. He clearly had no idea what kind of man he was dealing with. Ifeanyi took a step forward, towering over the officers. His arrogance was back. Do you even know who I am? He sneered. The older officer pulled out her cuffs. We don't care. Peace held her breath. Will he fight? Will he make this thing worse? For a second, she thought he would. But then something remarkable happened. Ifeanyi, the all-powerful, intimidating and the untouchable one, lowered his head, and he let them cuff him. Gasps echoed through the crowd. The murmurs grew louder. Peace felt a strange mix of emotions rise in her throat. Relief, disbelief, and exhaustion. As the officers led him away, Ifeanyi turned his head slightly. Their eyes met, and then he smacked. A slow, knowing smack, as if he was saying, this is not over. A chill ran down her spine. But then a small voice broke through the noise. Mommy! Chisom and Kamsi came running down the street, their little legs moving as fast as they could. Peace barely had time to react before Kamsi launched himself into her arms, clinging to her like she was the only thing keeping him afloat. Chisom stood beside them, her small face serious. Is he gone? She asked. Peace swallowed a lump in her throat and whispered, For now. She sat on the edge of her bed staring at the empty space where Ifeanyi's presence had once loomed like a dark shadow. The house was pleasantly quiet. No sharp insult cutting through the air. No tension thick enough to choke her. For the first time in years, she could hear herself breathe. Chisom and Kamsi were curled up on the mattress beside her, their tiny hands gripping her dress as if afraid she would disappear. Peace wasn't naive. Men like Ifeanyi didn't just fade into the background. They're locked in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike again, making victims like her to keep fighting. And Ifeanyi had smacked at her as they dragged him away. That smack haunted her. It carried a promise and a silent warning. She glanced at the clock. It was 2:45 a.m. She hadn't slept. Every creak of the house made her heart jolt. Every distant sound outside had her gripping the bedsheets. Her phone vibrated. It was an unknown number. Her pulse quickened. She hesitated, then picked it up with trembling fingers. Peace, a familiar voice crooned on the other end. Her stomach dropped. It was Ifeanyi. Her breath itched. Like how? He chuckled, low and slow. Oh, my dear wife, you didn't really think a few handcuffs would keep me away, did you? Peace shot up from the bed, pacing to the window. She yanked the curtain open, scanning the dark street. It was empty. But she felt him. Somewhere out there, he was watching. She swallowed. You are not supposed to be calling me. And you weren't supposed to pour boiling water on your husband. But look where we are. Peace clenched her jaw. She wouldn't let him see her fear. Ifeanyi, stay away from us, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Another chuckle. You are funny. You always were. But we both know you can't do this life without me. She tightened her grip on the phone. Ifeanyi, I am doing this life without you. Oh, really? Then his voice dropped into something colder. Enjoy your freedom. Let's see how long it lasts. Click, the line went dead. Morning came too soon. By dawn, her nerves were frayed. Sleep had invaded her, and every noise had her checking the locks twice. She had no time to rest. She had children to feed, a life to rebuild, and a battle to fight. Just as she was stirring a pot of pap for her kids, a sharp knock rattled the front door. Her stomach clenched. Is it him? No. Ifeanyi wouldn't knock. Bracing herself, she cracked the door open. Standing there, hands on her white hips, was Mama Nkechi, her landlady, looking like she was ready for war. Peace, she barked, pushing the door open like the rent was due, which unfortunately it was. Good morning, ma, she greeted gently. Good morning, Ke, Mama Nkechi caught in with her eyes narrowing. Do I look like someone having a good morning? Peace sighed. What happened, ma? Mama Nkechi placed a hand on her chest like she was preparing to deliver breaking news. You! That's what happened. Peace! What's this nonsense I'm hearing? You pour hot water on your husband. Hot water? Ah, Chineke. Peace! When did you become a warrior? A neighbor walking past slowed and pretended to check her phone while eavesdropping. Mama Nkechi continued. And now the police had come to my compound to arrest him. Do you want to chase away my tenants? Peace wanted to laugh. Her marriage was in shambles. Her life was a mess, and all Mama Nkechi could think of or make out of the situation was her chasing a tenant out. I didn't have a choice, she stammered. Mama Nkechi clapped her hands dramatically. Women of nowadays, no patience at all. During my own time, if your husband beats you, you adjust and find ways to please him. If none worked, you pray. Mama, I prayed. I prayed until my knees were raw and he still beats me. Mama Nkechi paused. For the first time, she looked at Peace properly. Looked at the faint bruise on her cheek. Looked at the way her shoulders trembled as she held back tears. She shifted. Man has come. But my dear, you know you cannot stay here, right? Peace's breath was caught. What? Yes, because you caused trouble. People were talking, and Ifeanyi, he will come back. Peace stared at her. So what do you want me to do? Mama Nkechi adjusted her headscarf. Find somewhere safe. Pack your children and go. If that man returns, I don't want him breaking down my door in the middle of the night. A lump formed in Peace's throat. She was shattered into pieces. She had no money. No job, no plan. Where would she go? But Mama Kechi's face had already hardened. Her decision was final. She forced a smile. Of course, ma. Thank you. Mama Kechi sniffed. Good girl. She turned and waddled off, stopping only to gossip with the neighbor who had been eavesdropping. Peace closed the door, then she sank to the floor, her knees coiled to her chest. She wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. There was no time for tears. She needed a plan. She needed help, and she needed it fast. Where do I go from here? She muttered. She had no savings. Every kobo she had ever made, Ifeanyi had controlled. He never let her walk outside the home. And anytime she mentioned starting a small business, he laughed in her face. Now, with nowhere to turn, she realized just how much he had isolated her. She had no close friends. Her mother passed away years ago. Her only living relative, an uncle in the village, had disowned her when she married Ifeanyi because there was an unsettling he felt in his spirit the first day he saw him. A sharp note distracted her from her thoughts. She jumped up with her heart pounding. Is it him? No, it can't be. Ifeanyi wouldn't knock, he would simply kick down the door. Slowly she opened it. Standing there was the last person she had expected to see. Chioma, her childhood friend. She had been her person before Ifeanyi happened. They grew up in the same neighborhood, braided each other's hair, and shared the same dreams. Then Ifeanyi came along and peace disappeared. Chioma had tried to warn her. Peace, this man doesn't love you. He wants to control you. But Peace was young and blinded by romance. She had said things she now regretted. Chioma, you are just jealous. You don't have a man, so you want to destroy my relationship. That was the last time they spoke. And now, after all these years, Chioma stood at her doorstep, hands on her waist, wearing a bold red jumpsuit and confidence like perfume. Peace could barely find her voice. Chioma. Chioma asked a brow. So you still know my name? Peace swallowed hard. Chioma pushed past her into the house. You look like suffer-head itself. She glanced around. Chineke, is this how you have been living? Peace's eyes burned. She had spent years making excuses, pretending everything was fine. But now, seeing the pit in Chioma's eyes, she felt exposed. How did you find me? She finally asked. Chioma folded her arms. A little bird told me your husband got arrested. I thought I should check if my old friend is still alive. And look, I was right to be worried. Peace's lips trembled. I didn't know how to reach you. Chioma scoffed. You didn't try, but I'm not here to fight. I am here to help. Peace's pride flared up. I don't need your help. Chioma stared at her, then burst into laughter. My friend, shut up. She pointed at her faded wrapper and the half-empty pot of pap on the stove. You don't even have milk for the pap. You need help. Peace wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Instead, she let out a shaky breath. Chioma sighed. Listen, pack your bags. You and the kids are coming with me. Her eyes widened. To where exactly, she asked. To my place, of course, until you figure out your next move. Peace hesitated. I can't just leave. Chioma cut her off. You have to. What if Ifeanyi comes back? Do you want your children to see more violence? To grow up thinking that it's normal? That hit Peace like a slap. She turned to look at Chisom and Kamsi still curled up on the mattress, their small bodies rising and falling with sleep. They had already seen too much. Slowly she nodded. Good, Chioma said, clapping her hands. Now hurry up. I have a meeting in 2 hours and I don't want to waste my fine girl energy waiting for you. Despite herself, Peace smiled. Chioma hadn't changed. Now in Chioma's apartment, it smelt of vanilla candles and expensive perfume. Blush cushions sat on a soft cream-colored couch. A real dining table stood in the corner, one without wobbling legs. Peace stared. You are rich, oh, my friend. Chioma rolled her eyes. Please, I am managing. Managing care with an air conditioner and a fridge full of food? Chioma grinned. Okay, I am doing well, but that's not the point. The point is for you to do well for yourself. Chioma, how? I have nothing. No job, no money. My friend, this is not the time for you to start making excuses. You have you. You have your brain. You have skills. You just need a chance. Peace bit her lip. Where will I find this chance? Choma smacked. I have an idea. But first, tell me, when last did you slap powder on your face? Peace blinked. Choma grabbed her hand. Come, we are going out. To where? Chioma grinned mischievously. To remind you who you were before that evil husband ruined your shine. Meanwhile, somewhere in a lit bar, Ifeanyi sat nursing a bottle of drink. He had spent less than a day in police custody before his uncle, a retired police commissioner, pulled some strings and got him out. Now he sat with a deep skull, fingers clenched around his drink. That stupid woman thinks she can get rid of me. His mind was already spinning with ways to make Peace regret everything. But first, he needed to find out where she was hiding. And if he had just the right person to help him, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. When the line connected, he said only 2 words. Find her. Peace on her part sat in front of Chioma's vanity mirror staring at her reflection. It has been years since she has seen herself like this. Powder on her face, lips tinted with a soft shade of pink, eyebrows neatly drawn. Chioma stood behind her, arms folded, nodding in satisfaction. See as you find, my babe. And to think you allowed one abaya to turn you into an old woman before your time. Peace let out a small laugh. I look different. Chioma tapped her shoulder. No, my dear. You look like yourself, the real Peace. Now let's go. Go to where again? She asked. To a place that would change your life. Few minutes later, they arrived at a cozy cafe. The air smelled of fresh pastries and coffee, a scent Peace hadn't indulged in for years. She felt out of place in her borrowed dress, shifting uncomfortably in her seat. Chioma reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Relax, my dear friend. We are just here to meet someone. Who? Before Chioma could answer, a tall woman in fitted dress walked in. She exuded confidence, her heels clicking against the floor with authority. Chioma beamed. Ah, Lara, over here. The woman approached, studying Peace with keen eyes. So this is the famous Peace. Peace glanced at Chioma. Famous? Chioma strummed playfully. I might have told her a little about you. Lara pulled out a chair and sat. Chioma says you are smart, hardworking, and just need a chance. Peace lowered her gaze. I don't have any experience. Lara waved her off. Neither did I when I started, but I built my catering business from scratch. And now I run one of the best food delivery services in Lagos. I need someone trustworthy to help me manage operations. It is demanding, but it pays well. Are you interested? Peace blinked. Just like that? Lara smiled. Not just like that. You will work hard. You will prove yourself. But Chioma speaks highly of you, and that's enough for me to give you a chance. Tears welled up in Peace's eyes. A chance? I don't know what to say. Chioma clapped her hands. Say yes now. Peace let out a choked laugh and nodded. Yes, yes, I will do it. Lara extended her hand. Welcome on board, Madam Peace. For the first time in years, she felt something deep inside her, a spark of hope. Meanwhile, Ifeanyi sat in his car watching the streets outside Chioma's apartment. He had paid one of his old friends, an Agbero with loose morals, to find out where Peace was staying. Now he knew, and he wasn't going to let her go so easily. You think you can embarrass and leave me? His grip on the steering wheel tightened. He had a plan, and when he was done, Peace would regret ever thinking she could escape him. That evening, Peace took a walk, her heart light for the first time in years. She had a job and a way to stand on her own. But as she stepped into Chioma's apartment, an uneasy feeling crept over her. Something felt off. Chisom and Kansi were watching cartoons, but they looked tense. Chioma was pacing the floor, her face tight with worry. What's wrong? Chioma turned to her, hesitating for a moment before she spoke. Ifeanyi knows where you are. Her breath caught. What? Chioma nodded. I saw him parked outside earlier. He's watching us. Fear gripped Peace's chest. No, 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 it's not possible. Chioma grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. We won't let him hurt you again, but you need to be smart. You need to be ready. Peace's hands trembled. What do I do? Her hands trembled as she clutched Chioma's hand. He's here? Watching us? Chioma nodded, her face set in a grim expression. Yes, but he hasn't tried anything yet. Peace's stomach twisted. She knew Ifeanyi. He wasn't the type to just watch. If he was here, it meant he had a plan. Chisom and Kansi, sensing their mother's fear, ran to her and clung to her legs. Mommy, what's wrong? She forced a smile, kneeling to hug them. Nothing, my loves. Everything is fine. Chioma folded her arms. Lies. We need to do something before he strikes first. Peace's mind was spinning. But what can I do? I can't run forever. Chioma's eyes darkened with resolve. Then don't run. Fight. Chioma pulled out her phone and dialed the number. Who are you calling? Peace asked. A friend who hates a woman like your husband. Peace barely had time to ask what she meant by that before Chioma spoke into the phone. Detective Okoro, my darling, how is your fine self? Listen, I have a small domestic wahala that needs urgent attention. Peace's eyes widened. The police again? Chioma winked. Not just any police this time that will release him barely after 24 hours. Okoro specializes in domestic abuse cases, and let's just say he doesn't have patience for men like Ifeanyi. Peace swallowed. She had never considered going to the police before. Ifeanyi had always told her they wouldn't listen, that no one would believe her. Chioma turned to her. We need evidence, girl. Peace hesitated. Look at me. I have scars, old ones. Chioma shook her head. No, we need fresh proof, something they can use to lock him up properly. A cold shiver ran down Peace's spine. You want me to let him hurt me again? Chioma placed a hand on her shoulder. No, I want you to trap him. He thinks you are weak. Let's use that against him. Peace's heart pounded. It was risky, but then she was tired of being afraid. She nodded. Let's do it. That night, she sat by the window pretending to be alone. Chioma and the kids were hidden in the back room, watching everything through a tiny crack in the door. The apartment was dark, except for a single lamp. She wanted Ifeanyi to think she was vulnerable, scared, and an easy prey. And just as expected, bam, 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 a heavy fist pounded on the door. Peace's heart leaped into her throat. Open this door now, Ifeanyi's voice boomed, thick with anger. She forced herself to remain calm. She walked slowly to the door, pressing record on her phone just before unlocking it. The moment she turned the handle, Ifeanyi barged in, shoving her backward. You think you can hide from me? He roared. Peace stumbled but didn't fall. She looked up at him, seeing the wide range in his eyes. He was drunk and dangerous, but this time she was ready. She stepped back, pretending to cover. Ifeanyi, please, he laughed cruelly. Please? After disgracing me and running away to your useless choma. Oh, you think you can leave me? My dear, you belong to me and only me alone. His hand swung. Ma! Peace's head snapped to the side. Pain exploded across her cheek. The slap was the proof they needed. The recording was running, but Ifeanyi wasn't done. He grabbed her wrist, yanking her toward him. You will come home with me now before he could finish, the door burst open. Hands up, the policeman ordered. Two uniformed police officers led by a furious detective Okoro stormed in. Ifeanyi barely had time to react before Okoro's fist connected with his jaw. Boom! A heavy punch. The bigger man crumbled like a sack of rice. Choma appeared from the back room, arms folded. Ifeanyi groaned, clutching his face. You? You set me up? Peace stepped forward, holding up her phone. The recording was still running. No, Ifeanyi, you did this to yourself. The officers yanked him up and handcuffed him. He struggled. You can't do this. Peace is my wife. She's mine. Okoro smirked. Not anymore. He turned to Peace. Do you want to press charges? She took a deep breath. She looked at Chisom and Kamsi, who were watching from the doorway with their eyes widely open. This was her chance. She lifted her cheek and said, Yes, I do. As the officers dragged Ifeanyi away, Choma wrapped an arm around her. You did it, babe, she whispered. Peace exhaled shakingly. I did. And for the first time in years, she was really free. The next day, she sat in the police station, her hands trembling on her lap. It had been hours since they took Ifeanyi away in handcuffs. Yet she still felt his presence lingering in the air, like the ghost of a nightmare that refused to fade. The officer in front of her, Detective Okoro, gave her a small reassuring nod. You did the right thing, madam. She swallowed hard. Then why does it feel like I lost something? Chioma, sitting beside her, scoffed. Because you have been a prisoner for so long, that freedom feels strange. Peace turned to her best friend. So what now? Chioma gave her a knowing smile, the kind only true friends could share. Now, my dear, you will start living. The days that followed were strange. Peace had spent years tiptoeing around her own house, measuring every breath, every step, waiting for Ifeanyi's mood to shift like a storm, rolling in without warning. Now silence filled the house and she didn't know what to do with it. For the first time in years, she lay down, closed her eyes and had a good siesta. Her children felt different too. Chisom, her daughter, had always been the quiet one and the observer. But that morning she walked into the kitchen, watching her mother cook. After a moment, she said softly, Mommy, you are not crying today. Peace's hands got still. Chisom had seen her cry so often that happiness seemed unfamiliar to her. She crouched down, cupping her daughter's small face. Mommy is fine now, my love. Chisom studied her mother's face like she was trying to believe it. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled. A real soft, hopeful smile. And that was when Peace knew living in Ifeanyi wasn't just for her. It was for them. As the days passed, work became tough, but Peace was tougher. She learned fast how to manage others, how to handle rude customers, how to smile even when exhaustion weighed down her body. And with every passing day, she felt herself growing stronger. One evening, Lara sat beside her during their lunch break. You remind me of myself, she said. Peace looked at her surprised. Lara smiled. I left an abusive marriage too. Peace's heart clenched. Really? Lara nodded. Yes. I started this business from nothing, with no money, no confidence, just pure desperation. But look at me now. She nudged Peace. And look at you. You are living in every sense of the word. Months passed. With every paycheck Peace saved. She counted every naira, made every sacrifice, and one day she stood in front of a tiny two-bedroom apartment, clutching the keys in her hands. It wasn't a mansion, but it was hers. That night, as she took Chisom and Kamsi into their new beds, Kamsi looked around the small room. Mommy, thank you for doing this for us. I am so proud of you. Peace didn't know where she cried. 1 year later, Peace sat on the small balcony of her new home sipping tea. Chioma burst in carrying a bottle of wine. Madam Independent, I bring celebration. Peace laughed. What are you celebrating again, madam? Chioma grinned. Your 1 year freedom anniversary. Peace shook her head. You are crazy, oh. Chioma poured a glass. I am serious. Look at you, manager of Lara's Lere branch. Your kids are happy. You are not afraid anymore. Peace sighed, looking up at the sky. I still have bad days. Choma waved a hand. Everybody does, but you are not that fearful enslaved woman anymore. And Peace knew she was right. They celebrated and have plans to keep becoming better. One day, she got a call. It was from the prison. Ifeanyi had been sentenced to 7 years. The officer asked if she wanted to see him one last time. She thought about it. She remembered the years of pain, the nights of terror, the bruises that faded but never truly left. And then she smiled. No, thank you. I've already said goodbye to my past, to my pain, and to the man who made me so afraid. So be it, the officer said and hung up. From that day, she lived a happy life, knowing that Ifeanyi wasn't coming for her or her children. Hey, African Tales by Karma Tribe, how are you all doing? For me, I am doing just fine. Before I go today, I would like to say this. For those of you, my dear sisters in abusive marriages, I see you. I see the pain in your eyes, the exhaustion in your spirits, the way you smile to hide the storm inside. I see how you make excuses for him. He's just stressed. He wasn't always like this. Maybe I provoked him. But deep inside you know the truth, that this is not love. Love does not bruise. Love does not silence you. Love does not make you feel like you are walking on eggshells in your own home. I know you are afraid. Afraid of what people will say. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of how you will survive. And afraid of the unknown. But dear sister, I need you to hear this. You are not weak. Enduring abuse is not a sign of strength. Living is. Strength is choosing yourself even when the world tells you to stay. Strength is realizing that you deserve better. Abuse will never make you better. He can say sorry, he will cry, he will promise to change, and maybe he will for a while. But the cycle will start again. And every time, trust me, it gets worse. Your children are watching. If you don't live for yourself, live for them. Because children who grow up witnessing abuse either become abusers or victims. Don't let that be their future. My dear sister or brother, you deserve peace. Imagine waking up without fear. Imagine a home where laughter replaces screams. Imagine a life where you don't have to hide your bruises. That life exists and it is waiting for you. Seek for help. You don't have to do this alone. Talk to someone, a friend, a counselor. A shelter, they are organizations that help women like you escape and rebuild. Love is not supposed to hurt. If love is breaking you, it is not love. It is control. It is manipulation. It is abuse. And you deserve so much more. If you have made the decision to leave, plan wisely. Gather important documents. Save money secretly. Even small amounts can help. If you have a trusted friend or family member, ask for help. Find a safe place, a shelter, a friend's house, anywhere he cannot find you immediately. Don't announce your plans. Live quietly. Abusers become most dangerous when they sense you are leaving. Right now, it may seem impossible, but one day you will wake up and feel the sunlight on your skin and it will not hurt. One day you will look in the mirror and recognize yourself again. One day you will hear your children laughing and you will know you saved them. And just one day you realize you saved yourself too. A word is enough for the wise. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it out to your loved ones. Let me read from you in the comment section what you think about the story. Until I bring another exciting story your way, it is a goodbye from here and God bless you.